At the beginning of the story, Tim and Lee, I saw two friends who were being held by the police. Because they are both criminals, and then the police are both a serious crime. South Africa's most secure to serve 12-year sentence. Then he went to a place where no prisoners could escape. At the entrance of the prison warden of both, waiting for the warden to tell them, "You both betrayed your own white people, and now you guys will rot here in this jail for 12 years, but the warden didn't know that both of them are not ordinary prisoners, but both of them are very vicious prisoners, and any prisoner from this Pretoria jail who does not escape from here. The two prisoners were soon to be mixed in the soil, after which both of them are brought inside the jail, and then both of them are checked well after taking the check. And as soon as there is an entry inside the jail here, the team starts planning to run away from here and every corner of the jail. It looks pretty closely, then Tim is locked inside his cell, as well as Lee in his armpit cell. There was only one wall between the two of them, and the two of them started talking to each other by tapping their hands on the wall. Now it's night, and Tim hasn't slept all night, but he's thinking about getting out of here, and the next morning the whole prison rings a bell to wake the inmates. Then all the prisoners came out of their cell. Then they all get up and eat. And when the team picks up their breakfast and comes to sit at the table, they see there are two kinds of prisoners, some prisoners dressed in blue. And some of the prisoners are wearing gray clothes, and now they're in the same prison. Why were the prisoners' clothes different? To find out all of this, we have to find out why Tim and Lee came to this prison, which is why we have to go back a little bit in the story, and here we find out there was a lot of trouble in South Africa. Color in Africa. And then the humans were able to bear the burden of their sins. They were given all kinds of privileges by the government, but on the other hand, black people were not treated by the government as human beings, and the government treated black people like animals, which is why black people were against the government. And black people were protesting in the streets against the government, and we see Tim and Lee, who were white, but they both sided with black people because they both understood that the government was doing the wrong thing to black people. They both get involved in black protests, and they both secretly start sharing papers with black people, with notes to raise their voices against colorblindness, and they both do this secretly from the police. But one day, the police find out that these two white people are inciting black people to demand their rights. The police catch them both, and then they are presented in the suit where the suit judge also speaks in favor of the white people, and they both for betraying the white people. He sentences them to 12 years in prison, after which they are both sent to prison to serve their sentences, and here we find that this film is based on a true story, and now the scene comes back to the present, where the team no longer understands who I am sitting with. Or with those in gray clothes, then an old prisoner comes and says to Tim, "Follow me," and then that old man sits Tim at a dinner table and tells Tim, "Here are these people in blue clothes. These are actually bloodthirsty people who came in the murder, robbery, and rap cases, the same gray clothes that people wear, the same people who are protesters as me and you who are against the government. Their crime is many times higher than ours because they have committed murder and theft, and we have only spoken out against the government, but the murderers are treated well here, and the prisoners who have spoken out against the government for black people are treated very badly here. That's why you're here a lot." And then, in the meantime, Tim's companion Lee with the blue-clad prisoners. Then he sat down with all his clothes on. The noises that Lee thinks I am with the wrong people. Then he sat down and sat down. Goes to the same time jail black cleaner. Something falls from the sound of a guard here. The one whose name is Mark goes to this black cleaner, and this black cleaner beats very badly due to a small mistake. I guess and Mark does it because the cleaner was a black now. The prisoners in blue clothes are very happy to see this. These are the prisoners of war. The blood is bloody, and now Tim realizes it. How much more dangerous for jail protesters than these three people out? Exercise and exercise during older prisoners, Tim and Lee. The secret of the prison is the old man. He said, "I've been in prison for more than 20 years. None of these 20 years to date. The prisoner cannot escape from here, and whenever the prisoner escapes from here, the guards try to catch him easily because there are so many. The security is tighter all the time. The guards are watching us and this jail. The walls around them are 20 feet high, so no prisoners from here. They cannot escape together. The old man says that whenever a new prisoner comes here, his mind. The same thing is going on in that he will run away from here, but the truth is, no one has escaped from here to this day because the prisoners here are also with the guards. So if their own prisoners see you planning to escape, they will go straight and complain to the guards. So I will tell you both the same thing if you both think about escaping here. So get him out of your mind, because the prisoners who tried to escape have all been killed. Now while the three are talking, we see a prisoner secretly watching the three of them, and as soon as the old prisoner leaves, then the prisoner watched them, the one whose name is Leonard. And Leonard said to them both, "This old man is a newcomer." This is how the prisoner fears. Do not both of you get into the words of this old man. Yes, it is true that this prison, no prisoners left here because they were too big. You can, but there is no other way to escape from here except to make tunnels. Then you both get out of here. You can run, then Leonard tells Tim and Lee. If you both find a way to escape from here, then tell me. I will join your team, saying, Leonard goes away from there and we see him from a distance. Warden Prison was secretly watching three of them. Now these people have been in prison for 23 days, and the team does not understand how to get out of here because the wall is high. These guys could have built a tunnel and run away. Now Tim thinks and starts to find a way out of jail. Then Tim looks at the door lock and he goes to the door lock and looks at it quite closely. But having no way to open the door lock, he sits back and starts to think of another way to escape. But in the meantime, Tim notices that the door lock is looking at him and, you are telling, there's no way out of it except for lock. After which Tim decides, and if he keeps the door open, he can escape. And then Tim does not delay as soon as the guard leaves the team soon. Lock the door by rolling a paper. Turns in, which gives the team the idea of what size the key I have to make, and the next day the team is Leonard with his partner. Goes to him and tells him that and if we do, then the door will be opened. You can get out of here and smile at Leonard. And Leonard doesn't like the idea of the team at all. He says there's so many doors here to make keys to all those doors. We're going to need a lot of wood that we don't have, so Lee says that if we guys graze some wood from the workshop somehow, our job might be easier. Leonard likes the idea, and then Leonard joins his team, and then these guys start planning to escape, and now they're going to get out of here. First of all, they are the ones. The keys must be designed, and those real keys are the most ruthless of prisons. The guard, whose name is Mark, has it now according to the plan. When these people, then they sit at the dinner table, and then Leonard is great. Then he will eat his own food, and he will eat his own food. Then Mark comes to them. Then here Tim starts to look at the keys with Mark's belt quite carefully, and fits the design of the keys quite well into his brain. Now here Leonard, when he starts to pick up his plate, then Mark forbids Leonard to pick up the plate, and Mark calls the black cleaner of the prison and tells him, pick up this plate, because this work is yours. After which the poor black cleaner starts picking up the food dropped from the plate and seeing all Prisoners dressed in gray-collared clothes do not like it all, but here the team does not say anything to the guard, and his focus is still on the keys. Now, after understanding the design of the keys, as soon as the team comes back to his cell, he starts drawing the key to the lock of his cell door with a pencil. Now these things are many, and whenever the team has the opportunity, open it in or out of the guard's office. Look at the design of the keys in the field. Drawing of keys, continue to work, and then after several days of hard work, the final team makes a perfect key drawing and find it here. All the prisoners in the prison are the same. These are the ones who have been in prison for 7 days. One day he was working in a workshop. Then he puts the water in his bottle. Put some pieces of wood in the bottle and on top. Then the bottles will be squeezed into the bottle. Sound of wood? Don't be afraid of them when they're out there. The guard will come to them, and you will see with doubtful eyes. When you see me, you are afraid to see me. Here the guard starts to stand all the prisoners from the line and take their checks. And one by one, all the prisoners empty the water bottles and check. Now when the team's turn comes, then that guard, the water filled in his bottle empties and starts moving the bottle. But there is no sound of anything from inside because the team first, as he cleverly stuffed the cloth and trapped the sticks under the bottle, was now bottled. Mark lets Tim go, and when Tim comes back to his cell, he gets to work because Tim now has the wood to make the keys. And you start making a key out of wood, according to the kind of copy you made in the drawing, and after many hours of labor, you finally make a key. Now it was heavy by testing the key. Then he quickly turned to the door. But he doesn't look at it, he looks at it. He felt that his work had been wasted for several days, but Tim did not lose, and then he turned and turned again and again. That looks happy on the face, which means that the team has managed to create a perfect door key, and the team opens the cell door with great joy. But this joy was a little late guessed, because now there was a big second steel door in front of it, for which the team would have to create a new key, but just making the key was not going to get the job done because the steel door lock was on the outside where Tim's hand was out from the inside. Doors. He couldn't get to the lock and now it's too much trouble for Tim. But Tim didn't understand. Finally, how to open the front steel door. So the next day, the team talks to my colleagues about how I've prepared the key for my cell door. But there's another door in front that has a lock on the outside, and my hand isn't reaching in there. So now we have to prepare a key that we can get inside the cell. This. Then you can open the door and then make the steel gate key again. He gets to work and he belts Mark again, seeing the key of the steel gate with the keys attached. And then after several days of labor, Tim manages to make the key to the steel door. Now it was heavy to test the key, and this time Tim tries to sneak out the key to the steel door, not at night, but during the day. And Leonard stands in the corner, watching the guards as soon as the guards arrive. So he can give Tim a warning. Now when Tim puts the key inside the lock, the key is tight enough. So Tim pulls the key back, pulls the key through a nozzle, and puts the key inside the lock again. This time the steel door lock opens. But he wasn't going back in. And seeing that Tim gets a lot more upset now in a hurry, Tim lock. As soon as the key swings, the key swings. The next part breaks down inside the look. Tim sees a lot. More nervous than hear Leonard running to Tim and coming from him. He says, "Do that quickly because a guard is coming towards us hearing this, Tim, and more." Pressurized. And then with his hands in his hands. He tried to pull the key from within. But it doesn't work. Then Leo quickly throws a chalk at Tim. And then, as if inside, then inside, puts the piece out and quickly leaves the door like that because there was a guard coming, and then after the team leaves, there comes a fat guard who doesn't pay attention to the door, and there is a fat guard leaving the team coming back to the door after the guard leaves. He tries to get in, but the door doesn't get in. And then Tim left. Then he went to his cell in the evening, the name Mark. When he comes, he sees the gate of the cell swollen. And seeing this, Mark gets to thinking there. On the other hand, Tim couldn't sleep because he was afraid somewhere he wouldn't get caught because of the gate. But here Mark doesn't think much and closes the door because he felt that maybe the door was left open by the thick guard, and when the door closed, Tim. The next morning, the son of David, he comes to meet and Leonard is very happy to see his son. Now here is Leonard's son. From his address, he is speaking in French, which he hears the guard named Mark gets quite angry, because speaking in French was against rules, And then Mark takes Leonard's son to finish the meeting in 5 minutes, although every prisoner here has half an hour to talk to his relative. And here Leonard makes a lot of requests from this guard named Mark, but he does not listen to the guard Leonard and takes his son, and here seeing Mark Leonard's helplessness. He was getting a kind of crore of happiness, and now Leonard goes completely mad with this action of Mark, and he wants to get out of here at any cost. Now here these people go to jail for 142 days, and these three together start planning to open the steel gate, but no one understands how to open the steel gate from inside the cell because no one could reach the lock of the door from inside and outside, and these three were planning to open the steel door sitting in the cell. Then the guard starts coming over, and at the same time, Leonard sees the guard, and when he sees the guard, the three of them start acting out. What's going on here? And then they say nothing, just us guys cleaning the cell. Mark doesn't see anything messy, and he walks away. And at the same time, he sees the broomstick in Lee Leonard's hand, and he gets an idea, and Lee says, "We guys using the broomstick." Lee explains that if we guys tie the key with the broomstick, then we guys can take the hand out of the cell window and bring the broomstick to the gate loop. This idea everyone likes, but it was not enough to just bring the stick to the door loop. But the biggest problem was how to rotate the key after delivering the tick to the door lock, and gets the solution. The next day, the team in the workshop where the team sees a prisoner operating a mechanical machine, which seeing an idea comes to the team's mind. And then he 2 holes in a small piece of wood, then in the team sweeping stick. It makes a hole, and then he screws this little piece of wood with a sweeping stick. The team, and now the team. I had a perfect tool to get the job done. Tim from the window. Stick tries to pull out and reach the door lock, now targeted. Absolutely. Then he puts on a glass with a stick, which Tim puts on. He knew whether or not the door was open. And after a lot of effort, the team would finally put the key inside the lock. Then the key is turned, and then the key is removed from the stick. Fall down. Then when they see it, they will be more than happy to see it in the morning. When he saw this, he was dead, but he was not dead. It wasn't, and he had already prepared for it, and now Tim is chewing gum from his mouth. Get out. Applies to the tree stick, and then picks up the key with the help of chewing gum applied to the stick. Then the team tries to open the door lock again, and this time the team manages to open the door lock, which makes the team quite happy the next day. The team news of the door opening. Leonard and Lee are quite happy to hear that. Now it was the biggest fool to keep the keys, because that way they could be caught. So they dig a pit and hide the keys in it under the pretext of gardening. But at some distance Mark was watching them, and Mark came straight to Leo. Then Mark comes to the team and tells the team that you are here. What are you doing? On which Tim responds to Mark with great confidence that I was putting seeds to grow plants here. When we hear this, Mark leaves, but then we see the prison. Old prisoner long enough, he was watching from Lee and Tim and about the planning of them both. I found out now he's talking to the old prisoner, Tim. If you are caught leaving here, you will be punished for another 25 years. I can't get out. Now the team here understands that if I'm going to get out of this prison, I'm going to have to add more people to my team, and then the team gets a few more people to their team the next day, and all these people start delivering to the team what they need to get out of prison. But what the team needed most was, he wasn't in prison. That he was outside the jail. And that thing was the map of this jail, because the team had understood that, till we did not understand the structure of this jail, we cannot get out of here. And then the next day, Team Jail BL. The cleaner asks the team for cigarettes and soap, and the team says yes. "206 days had passed, and the next day when the black cleaner was in jail, when it comes, the team asks him about the newspaper and gestures, then that cleaner, shaking his head and answering in yes, and seeing this, the team understands. Goes where the newspaper is at? That ruthless prison guard Mark has watched over them both, and Mark has seen them both gesticulating now. After a while, Tim goes out excusing garbage, and as he promised in exchange for bringing newspaper from the cleaner, that after bringing newspaper, I will give you cigarettes and soap now, under the garbage box, Tim sneaks in as promised. Cigarettes and soap sticks through chewing gum, then picks up the newspaper from the garbage can that had the map of the prison now. A few more days pass, and one day when Tim is in his cell, Mark brings him the new springs that Tim ordered, but here's Mark Tim. It's bad news that we guys executed this black cleaner because he used to sneak things in for the prisoners in the jail, and it was fun to see him crying when he was hanging on the gallows. People are close enough to get out of here. Now he didn't want to ruin his plans by fighting with Mark in vain, so they both got to work and they both got out of their cell and came down the stairs, moving forward and approaching a girl's door and trying to open the door. Tim was sweating a lot during that time, and drops of his sweat fall to the ground when they open the door. Then they hear the sound of someone coming, and the team quickly takes the key out of the door and quickly turns back and hides in a closet in front of them to catch the closet door. There was a little screw that Leonard was holding with his fingers, and then we see a thick guard come in and open the door of the guard girl, while the screw that Leonard was holding the door of the closet. Suddenly the screw is missed by Leonard's fingers, but the good thing was that the door does not open completely. It opens only a little bit, and both of them have small doors in front of their eyes. See this fat guard walking by Lucky, doesn't pay attention to this guard going to the door, and he goes up the stairs to the top floor where the three of them are cell now after the guard goes. These guys go out again. And moving on to the front steel gate, where the team puts the key on the door lock, and the key was opening the door perfectly. The team gets quite happy to see that there is a thick guard in the top floor, checking the cell of both of them, where the guard doesn't know. You and Leonard are not in your cell because they both put blankets on the pillow, which looked like they were both sleeping while trying on the keys to the other doors down there. They hear the sound of the old prisoner coughing loudly from the top floor, which they hear, and they understand that there's a warning of the fat guard coming back. Then these guys, again, running on their bare feet, and hide back in the closet now. When the guard comes down the stairs, he sees some water droplets on the ground below, which is actually Tim's sweat. The guard looks around, but then he kicks his foot in the sweat without paying much attention. After the guard leaves, they both leave the closet and come back to their cell, and Tim puts the wooden keys in a mug, but Tim didn't know that keeping the keys in the mug could be a big problem for him. And as the morning dawns, suddenly the prison warden made someone come to check all the cells now here team night. And then he goes to sleep in the morning. He wakes up and asks the team what you mean by sleeping so long. You can't sleep at night, but you can't sleep at night. No one answered, seeing the warden. Gets angry, and the warden sends the team out to see the team. Now when the warden is checking Tim's cell, he calls Tim inside and he starts scattering the stuff in front of Tim. The pieces of the wooden key in the mug fall to the ground. Now when he looks at the pieces of Tim's key, he gets very nervous. And the warden also sees a piece of wood, after which the warden picks up the piece of key and asks Tim what it is. Rather, the key has a part on the front that the warden does not recognize that it is a key. So he answers with great confidence that it is a photo stand that I made to keep the photos of my parents, and you also keep the photo frame from that piece of the key. Seeing this, the warden's suspicion is slightly removed. Then the warden asks the team about the rope tied on the stick of the broom. At which Tim tells the warden that I hang the broom from the nail in the wall when he hears the warden tell Tim that you are a big fool, and then there the broom goes and gives it to Tim after the warden leaves. Tim gets very nervous and he starts having panic attacks because Tim was aware that if the warden found out, I'm planning to get out of here, so he's going to kill me. And now he's going to do his job very carefully, and he's going to hide the wooden keys in a separate place so they don't get in any danger again. So these guys spend 404 days in this jail, and now it's just these three in this jail. I didn't want to stop anymore, so I wanted you to get out of this prison first to find out how many doors there are in this prison, and to find out all that makes you pretend to be a toothache guard. Now, because there was no dentist in the jail, Mark takes Tim with him and takes him out of the jail. During this time, Tim starts counting every single door in the jail and seeing such a door of Tim Grill, which was not from the key, but from the electric door that only the guard room. You could open the button now, Tim. He walked with Mark through the last door of the prison. He comes out of the prison and understands the whole structure of the prison from the outside, after which Tim is treated for a tooth in the hospital, and then Tim is brought back to the jail. After coming back to the jail, Tim will collect all his colleagues and tell them, I've prepared the keys to each of the doors to get out of this prison. It's just that we have to get out of here, and tonight we're going to get out of here. But the rest of the team, except Leonard and Lee, refuse to escape with them. And when they thought they would be caught, Leonard said to them all, When you escape from our prison, you will all be very sorry. On the other side, we see the fat prison guard going to the toilet because he has a bad stomach, but as soon as he opens the toilet door, he sees that the toilet is jammed, so now the guard opens the toilet. Goes down the stairs and opens the front closet and starts looking for a tool to open the toilet. Now, after taking out all the equipment, the guard finds the tools to open the toilet. And as soon as the guard is going to close the door of the closet, he sees a string hanging in the doorknobs. It's the same string that Leonard used to hold the door when the three of them went inside the closet. And then the string falls down. And then the thick guard picks up the string. And then the three of them move forward. They approach the door of the girl and open the door and come down the stairs. As soon as they are on their way, they know that the guard is coming towards them. Then they quickly hide in the closet, but they didn't know that the guard had just taken the sound from the closet to clean the toilet a while ago, and now the guard is coming back to put the sound in the closet. Now when they get inside the closet, they see that the wire they used to hold the closet door, it is missing somewhere, which actually carried the thick guard razor with them. Now they had quite a bit of time because that guard was going to come to them, so the small screens of the door of the thumb mill holds the door closed with the help of the fingers and holds the door with great difficulty. After a while, the thick guard comes back to keep him in the closet, but in the meantime, the old prisoner upstairs helps them, and there the old prisoner. Break your cell light and start shouting loudly. He was so close to the guard, but the old prisoner. Because of its loudness, the thick guard starts going to the top floor to see that, which is the third of them and the third of them. The ball is saved now after going over the guard. The three of them quickly came out of the closet and began to move forward. Now the path was clear for them because the thick guard went to the top floor, and then they took turns opening several doors, and then a door came in front of them that if they touched it, the siren would sound in the whole prison, because it was an electric door with no lock, that is, it was not with a key. Rather, it can be opened by the button, and it thickens the button. The guard was in the room now because they cleverly complied with the plan. Through the old prisoner, the thick guard left his room. They were sent upstairs, so it was no longer difficult for them to open the electric door and go back to Leonard. The thick guard arrives in the room and presses the electric door button. As soon as he presses the button, the electric door opens and the trio starts to move forward happily, and now there is only one last door left in front of them, where the team peeks out of a small tunnel of the door and finds the main gate of the prison open and the road outside the prison. Now the freedom was a few steps away from them, and the three of them embrace each other with joy. And then Tim tries the key on the last door of the prison, but the door doesn't open, and then Tim puts the other key, but that other key doesn't fit the door lock, and so Tim made as many keys. All those keys Tim tries at the last door, but the door wasn't even naming the opening, and seeing this all three get very disappointed, because here these guys first arrived, and now that these guys were close enough to getting out of prison, their luck doesn't support them. As well as his last several months of hard work, now the team here tells the big sad man that we have to go back and we will prepare the keys for that last door, but now that freedom is so close, Leonard was not willing to go back at any cost, and then... Leonard looks at the lock of the door, which is locked in a wooden frame. Seeing this, Leonard starts stabbing the wooden frame with a chisel, which makes the whole prison sound quite loud. But Leonard wasn't stopping, and he kept pounding on the door loop. Now the team comes running back into the corridor to check where it sounds. After reaching the corridor, he realizes that the voice is echoing throughout the jail. Now Tim gets nervous that he does not hear the thick guard voice, so he comes back to stop Leonard. But when he came back, he saw that a large part of the wooden frame has broken and Darv. So instead of stopping Leonard, he tells the reverse. Leonard, keep working. And now some of Leonard's ward comes out the lock, after which these guys open the door. After the door opens, these guys quickly wear normal clothes. Now here, the team staying ahead opens the door from the sheep, and these three start moving forward with light steps, and as soon as... Only then does the team see a sniper above which these people quickly... Let's hide behind the wall now. Here the team looks at the guard on the roof above a small mirror, and as soon as he guards, he goes to the other side, and then the three of them start moving forward again, and the prisoner comes out of the gate. Now as he walks down the street outside the prison, Tim sees Mark talking to someone. But the three of them start moving forward with their heads down, and then two more guards come in front of them. But the three of them are wearing normal clothes. And so the three of them get a long way out of the prison, and then after going a little bit further, the three of them get to a taxi station, where there was a separate taxi for black people and a separate taxi for white people. You showed a driver some money and said, take us to our destination. But he said, you three are white, so you three go ahead and get a white taxi, and you insisted that we go with you. And then the black driver, seeing the white people being so good for the first time, took the three of them to the other side. Here Mark goes to each prisoner's cell and wakes the prisoners, and then Mark opens the cell door and tells the team to wake up, after which he proceeds to wake the rest of the prisoners. After a while, everyone is out of their cell, but here they are. Mark saw that the team had not yet come out of their cell. Mark is angry, and he goes straight inside the team cell and kills the team, but here, Mark finds that the team is not only in his cell, but... Mark panics and starts to tremble at the fear of going to his job, and then in panic goes to the warden's room, where the rest of the prisoners standing from the line burst out with joy, and the greatest joy was on the old prisoner's face because the three of them worked there. This movie ends with a true story based on the true story. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel and like the video.